Listen, tough game, tough start, but I'm not upset about that. Are you upset about that game?
Not upset. I think truthfully, it's an outcome that went about as probably as it should have gone there.
Listen, there's a lot of season left. We left a lot of meat on the bone against Tennessee. It wasn't by any means a perfect game, but this was a tough game in a tough place against a tough team, and it seemed like our freshmen, our younger guys, they were a little bit shook by the moment. And I think that's to be expected. We got a lot of season left, and I think it's about how we respond from here on out.
Totally. I mean, look, you can't really. It's tough to spot a team 17 points, no matter who you're playing, especially when you're playing an SEC team down in Atlanta.
You're watching Domed in Cuse, the quick hit podcast for real Orange fans. If you love Cuse sports, hit like and subscribe. Let's go Orange.
All right. Welcome back to the Domed In Pod. Here we are sitting on Sunday morning, recapping what happened yesterday. This is going to be our rhythm throughout the season here. We're going to recap Sunday morning. We'll have something up at some point on Sundays for all you fans out there who want to recap the game, see what happened. We're going to go through game flow. Then we're going to jump into, a little bit of banter back and forth, what happened, a little bit about the game. Then we're going to spotlight maybe a few key plays. If it's a win, we're going to spotlight key plays that helped us get there. If it's a loss, we're going to spotlight a few key plays that maybe could have made the difference. Then we're going to jump into our 3 stars of the game. A little bit of hockey guy in here. So hockey, 3 stars, but only Syracuse. Who are the 3 guys who we want to spotlight? And then we're going to do like a Fran Brown roundup, what he thought about the game, and then kind of where we think the program's going. Maybe look ahead a little bit to the next few weeks. So be on the lookout for this. And then finally, we'll also do a little film room action, which will drop sometime later in the week, probably around Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. We'll go through a couple plays. We'll walk through what we're seeing, and then on Thursday we'll put out a preview for the next week's game. So like and subscribe to follow all of our content. That's how it's going to go each week here at the Domed In Pod. So again, like and subscribe, follow along. Let's recap this game. So to start, Tennessee gets the ball to start the game. They drive down the field. Our defense does a good job, bend but doesn't break. We force a field goal. We go down 3-0. Syracuse gets the ball back. We're driving. We take a penalty. Wrong call, but we'll talk about that more later. We stall out. We give the ball back. Tennessee, hot knife through butter, touchdown. It's 10-0. Tennessee's driving. We get a fumble. Great job by the defense to stand up again. Immediate next play, Angeli, fumble, gifts Tennessee 6. Can't happen. Going to talk about that more later. That's the first quarter. We're down 17-0, and it's like, wait, what just happened?
The danger zone was there.
And then we get into the game. And when we get into the game, we actually start to look okay. So Yazzie Willis comes out in the second quarter, gives us our first touchdown. He was an animal all day long. Then credit to Josh Heupel. They go run. They go play action over the top. Beautiful play scheme. Josh, I think he's one of the best coaches in the country, and he showed it yesterday, to be honest. His team was well prepared, well drilled. They're up 24-7. Syracuse does a great job here staying in the game. Fran Brown teams will never quit, and we love to see that. Syracuse about halftime, 24-14. It should be going in a half. Syracuse getting the ball, but then we give up another touchdown to end the half, and it actually ends up 31-14 at half. We come out of the second half. Let's try to put something together. Let's try to do something good. Angeli, critical turnover, interception. Tennessee scores again. It's 38-14. From this point on, Syracuse actually, I thought, played really, really well. I know Tennessee maybe had the foot off the gas a little bit, but Syracuse was able to, stay in the game, fight in the game. Yazzie Willis punches in another couple of touchdowns in the middle of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. Now it's 26-38. It looks like, hey, we're right there. We have a chance again in the red zone later in the game. We don't convert. Tennessee scores a late touchdown, and it ends up 45-26 Tennessee. All in all, not a terrible game. Again, if you look at just the game flow, you can't spot good teams 17 points.
Correct. I think that's honestly what it comes down to, at least in the outcome of this game. But like you said, I think
there was a lot to take away that was positive from this team. I think the offense really woke up after a pretty disastrous start there in the first quarter. And like you said, there was a point there kind of from mid-second quarter on where we were moving the ball effectively really well. And I think we'll dive into it here.
There's a few key points there that this could have become more of a game. And, something we talked about is, we got hit up in the group chat. Hey, Nick Saban doesn't even know this is a neutral site game. He just said it's a home game for Tennessee. Well, it turns out Nick Saban might have been right. That was definitely a home game for Tennessee.
Certainly was. I mean, we had issues with play calling, making calls, hearing coaching staff all game long. I mean, it was not a pro Syracuse crowd in there, that's for sure.
No, and I think that was something that concerned me. Angeli seemed to be running down the clock, and I don't know if it was because he couldn't hear because it was loud in there. Obviously, it's a dome, so it does get pretty loud, I think, down there, and Tennessee way outnumbered us. But Angeli did seem to get that play clock all the way down to 0, and I didn't love that. I'd like for him to try to snap the ball with more time. I think that hurts the offensive line. It doesn't help them get set and get as prepared when they feel like they're rushing to snap the ball at the end of the play. That's something I'd like to see us clean up.
Totally. I agree. I think general alignment improvement is just needed across the board. I mean, we struggled to get lined up on both sides of the football, which was a problem last year too, particularly on defense. But yeah, I agree. We've got to just be a little bit more efficient, frankly, in the huddle, at the line of scrimmage. We need to get into our looks and just get ready to go. I mean, I think that was a big difference in just, frankly, the two teams that showed up yesterday, right? Like Tennessee was ready to go from opening kick, right? They were moving incredibly fast on offense. Our defense was on their heels from, frankly, their opening possession, really trying to catch our breath from that point. They were just a little bit sharper, frankly, and ready to go as a group.
I mean, our young guys looked a little rattled, and I think the 17-0 start didn't help. Obviously, there's a few key things that could have gone differently. But the other thing I'll say is, we were rotating a lot of linebackers in there, and I think we didn't really have an answer to start the game. Did we find one in that game? I mean, we were texting about it. Sparrow and Bryant kind of look like the best pair I think we have out there.
I tend to agree. I mean, it was not a great game from that group overall. But like you said, those two guys at least came up with some level of resistance and made a few plays kind of in the flow of the game there. And I agree. I think at least those are probably our two best athletes at the position right now. And I think that's probably what we got to go with moving forward here, at least for the bulk of the snaps. I don't think we can be rotating every other drive like this with a new set.
I mean, every drive was two new guys. It was different combinations, trying to find what works. We'll see. Obviously, McDonald is going to continue to get snaps, and obviously, we want to see Delorier get some snaps as well because we think that good opportunity for him to get experience as a young guy, and I think he's a promising kid. You could see he was one of the few guys who actually, when he got his hands on guys, he made the tackles. The key was we weren't really lined up properly a lot of times, which is a problem we had last year and really something that needs to be fixed this season, throughout the season. We cannot continue to be misaligned to start plays on defense because it gives certain things like the screen on 3rd and 10 early in the game. We're just not in a good lineup against that.
Right. No, and then we get caught on our heels. I mean, yeah, it hurts.
That is a play I did want to talk about, actually. Sorry, Tap, to cut you off here. That is a play I just wanted to talk about before we dive deeper, right? That play, it's 3rd and 10, and this is kind of an example of where I think our problems lie on defense. And we decide to go double mug with the linebacker, so we have all 4 guys on the line, double linebackers up the middle, showing pressure. On 3rd and 10, they have 3 guys on the outside to the left, and they have 1 wide receiver out to the right. And then we take our 4 guys and then David Reese, who's a defensive lineman, and we have David Reese go one-on-one with a running back in the flat when you're showing pressure on 3rd and 10. You're literally telling the quarterback, hey, throw it to your hot read, and then your hot read is a running back one-on-one against a defensive lineman in space. That is something that just like from a play calling perspective and a defensive calling perspective, that cannot happen.
It's just a completely flawed personnel strategic alignment move there on 3rd and 10.
And we blame the linebackers there, but that's an example of the linebackers not being put in a position to succeed. And it's nothing against Reese, because I actually thought Reese was one of our best defensive players, if not our best defensive player. He had a tackle for loss. He had 7 tackles, which was the most on the team, tied with Deuce, I think, which is terrible. You never want a safety to be leading your tackles, but whatever. That, to me, the defensive alignment issues at critical times in the game, it needs to be fixed throughout this season. It just does.
I agree. I think too it hurts us leverage wise in the running game too. Like if we're not lined up, it's tough to have leverage at the point of attack, and then we're just late filling gaps, which we had issues with again yesterday. Our gap discipline was not terrific filling gaps in the running game, and Tennessee backs were patient. They waited till we frankly didn't fill a gap, and they were just through that with a fucking lane 35 yards downfield. It was tough. It was tough on that end of the ball. And we just got to tackle better, dude. This is an issue from last year. Even times when we are meeting guys at the point of attack, there's one guy there. We're not rallying to the ball. That guy's not wrapping up. There's just things that need to be improved. And frankly, there's just a lot of issues that carried over from last year on that side of the ball. That said, I do want to just talk quickly about a couple takeaways on the offensive end of the ball. If you do, before we jump in maybe to a couple key plays here.
Go for it.
I think big takeaway offensively is we have weapons. Like
weapons
going to be able to move the ball. This might be the best defense we play all season, and we were moving the ball well against this group. Willis is an NFL running back.
He's a stud. We've been calling that for the whole time we've had a podcast. We've been saying, watch out for Willis.
I mean, there's one guy out there for Syracuse who was a physical advantage for us yesterday. It was Justine Willis. He was causing damage every time he touched the ball.
I mean, the first time he touches the ball, he runs over Joshua Josephs, one of the best defensive linemen in the country. He hurts the other defensive tackle, and then he's slamming his helmet. He's like, let's go. And that's the kind of energy we needed, because then we converted a great 3rd down that got called back. But, that's the kind of stuff that's leadership. He was asked a question yesterday about what did LeQuint, teach you? And he said leadership. LeQuint went out there and LeQuint showed how he could put the team on his back. And he specifically said the UNLV game, which we've talked about before, and how important LeQuint was in that game, and how LeQuint just said, we're not losing this game. I'm going to go score 4 touchdowns, including the overtime winner. And to have him take that away from a guy like LeQuint, who I know we both love LeQuint, and obviously his physical attributes were awesome, but LeQuint's mentality, the lion ape mentality that LeQuint had, that's the kind of thing you want to see from your running back. And having a kid who just soaked that up, and then immediately in the first game he comes out, he shows he has that same mentality. Beautiful.
Totally. I mean, one thing we used to joke about with LeQuint is LeQuint gets inside the 10-yard line. He starts smelling the end zone, man. He was undeniable in there. Willis was,
it's like a shark to blood.
It was pretty much yesterday. We get inside that. We get 1st and goal. We can kind of just close our eyes and hand it
4 times to Willis. It's never going to be stopped.
So I think that was just incredibly encouraging. I mean, he literally hurt half the Tennessee defense at a certain point. I mean, and I think he really does look like kind of LeGarrette Blount out there. He is a huge running back, and he was really encouraging. And I think even like we talked about as well, there were points in the passing game that were encouraging. Look, Angeli's not going to have this terrific arm talent spraying the ball 40 yards downfield. But what we were able to do was get guys involved underneath. We were able to use Ross Simmons on the outside to put pressure on the defense, draw some penalties.
Valari had a good game.
Jonte Cook was good over the middle as well. There was a lot to take away from our versatility on offense. We've got
Tyshawn Russell was really, really good. He came in and he was finding some space. I thought another guy who was great was Will Nixon.
Agreed. And I think I would like to see us make sure we establish Willis early in games, make people feel us to start the game.
Sorry, let's dive into a few key plays here. That we're just going to spotlight. And obviously we know Syracuse lost to Tennessee. We're not crying about it. We're just spotlighting maybe a few key plays that if they had gone differently, I think this game could have looked very different. And it kind of shows you how we weren't that far away from this Tennessee team. You know, it was a few things, especially really in the first half more than anything, because the second half we played them even.
Yeah, totally.
First play is Syracuse, first drive, penalty on third down. I'm gonna bang on the refs because I'm a fan and I don't give a fuck, right? Because I don't get fined by the NCAA, so I'm gonna bang on the refs. The refs, that's terrible. I mean, it's college football, so we know you're gonna get terrible calls. It's essentially a home game for Tennessee, so we know there's gonna be home cooking in there. But that call is basically they call Gill and Cook both moving as the snap goes, snap infraction, and it's just not. It just doesn't happen. Gill is completely set. He resets. He checks with the ref. He says, hey, I'm moving back a step. Sets. Cook's coming in motion, and Cook is moving. Cook is allowed to be moving. One guy's allowed to be moving, but neither guy is on the line, and Villari is in between them on the line. Villari's covered up the line. So we're all good. We are good. We are set. And they call penalty. Villari makes a beautiful catch for what would have been a first down at about the Tennessee 30-yard line, and it's 3-0 at this point. If we get points here, if we get a field goal, or if we get a touchdown, this is a different game because I think our team settles down in a way that they got shell-shocked early in that game.
It was a brutal call. It totally killed our momentum, obviously, on that drive, and it just felt ticky-tack. And even on the replay, it did look, obviously, it doesn't look like Gill was moving he wasn't even resetting while Cook was in motion there. And so,
I mean, Louis Riddick is literally talking about it. He's like, oh, Gill's moving. And then he's like, well, Fran Brown's not so happy with that call. And like, you can kind of tell, like, Louis was like, yeah, that's kind of ticky-tacky. But that's a big call. It's a big call on 3rd and 5 to make it 3rd and 10. We then have to punt the ball.
It certainly is. And it felt like the referees just kind of had a stickler for alignment issues on our side of the ball there on offense, which just became a bit frustrating there. It is what it is. Yeah. Unfortunate play, obviously, kind of resulted in what could have been a 14-point swing there. I mean, we were moving on offense. They quickly get the ball back, walk down the field, 10.
Hot knife through butter, just right there.
Then we're quickly in a 2-possession hole, and it was starting to unravel.
Whereas even if because they were great on offense all day, we had our troubles on defense. Even if they had, walked back down and scored on us, if we score there, though, and even if it's just a field goal to tie the game, it keeps us in touch. Once we get down 10-0, we start to press. So we get down 10-0. Here's the next big play. The defense does an unbelievable job coming up with a fumble. I think it was Reese who recovered the fumble.
Yeah, Reese.
We do a great job tackling. This is one of those times where we actually tackled. We rallied to the ball. We did a great job, caused the fumble, recover the fumble. And then Angeli gets it, and he just gifts them 6 points. You just have to take care of the ball as the quarterback. I thought Angeli did too much scrambling for a guy who's not a runner. And I don't really want to see him try to scramble all that much. If it's open and you can take it because it's wide open, do it. But he scrambled into traffic. Just throw the ball away because you don't want to give up 6 there.
When Angeli starts climbing the pocket, it's a little worrisome, to be honest with you. He doesn't have terrific pocket awareness from like behind him, or even as guys are kind of closing in there.
And some of that hopefully is he gets reps to improve that a little bit, but it does. Limited tape, it showed up in that semifinal game. He almost got sacked.
He almost had a fumble, yep. And I mean, he just didn't take care of the ball there, and that's 10-0, and he's pressing. So I get it. Again, like that, the first key play leads into this key play, but he's pressing, and he's got to take care of the ball there. It's 1st and 10. It's literally the play right after we recovered the fumble, too, which is just backbreaking. And at this point, at 17-0, honestly, this team could have quit. They could have quit. But a Fran Brown's teams are never going to quit. They're going to keep fighting. That's why we love him. That's why we're all about Fran Brown at Syracuse, because his teams are always going to show heart, and we're never going to leave like, damn, that team, they left some energy on the field, or they could have done more from an energy or an effort perspective. Some of the things that we need to clean up on alignment, sure, but effort, it was there all game.
Totally agree. I think from that point on, Fran gave that interview at the end of the first quarter too, where he was extraordinarily calm. He's like, "Look, we've just got to settle down. We're going to be fine in this game," which we ended up being fine. I mean, we played
after the 17-0, totally fine.
From that point on, I think Fran, you can tell, has a little bit different tenor just with this team. It's not as high energy, like. Frantic isn't the right word, but he was sort of the pulse of our energy last year, or at least he was kind of used himself that way. He's more of a calming presence this year on the sideline. You could tell he knows he's got a younger team. He knows he's got to settle this ship a little bit. And I actually think he did a pretty good job of that yesterday after what was frankly a tough start to navigate. They really blitzed us to start that game. And we did kind of find our footing. And I like, to your point, I think that's a really strong takeaway. And it's a hallmark of what Fran is building here at Syracuse.
I think that's a great point too, because that last year team we had Marlo Wax, Justin Barron, even guys like Deuce and Devin Grant and Barry Buxton. Like those guys, some of those guys are still here. But last year that defense was older. There was a lot of veteran guys on there. On offense, we had Gadsden and Kyle and Jackson Meeks and Trevor Pena, guys who had been there a long time. So he knew, hey, I can be the high energy guy. I can go rah and get this team going because these guys are going to be calm and composed in the moment. And I think he knows the exact opposite this year. A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores all over the field, guys playing big time snaps for the first time in their career, like Angeli. So he knows he has to be a little bit more, hey, let's calm everything down. And listen, the next 2 weeks, we get UConn and Colgate coming into the Dome. It's a chance for us to reset. So we're going to see what it's like. Let's jump into that third key play because this is another one where, again, even after the 17-0 disaster, Willis really sets the tone. We get a touchdown. Heupel then, awesome play calling by him. The run into the over the top. We were supposed to be in cover 4. We're not in cover 4 because both the safeties are way down the field, Grant and Chestnut, trying to come downhill and make a tackle. And we're down 24-7. But right before half first we do a genius pooch punt that I just wanted to call out because I love a pooch punt. Angeli executed that beautifully.
It was executed perfectly.
And that's something now that teams are going to have to be ready for in the bag. So you can go out there on 4th and 4. If you like a look, you can snap it. And if you don't like a look, you could pooch punt it. Same thing. So anything 4th and 4 under now in plus territory, we have a weapon that people either have to we have to line up so we can't play the punt recovery. And Angeli could just pooch punt it, So we can catch some teams by surprise with this. I like to see that. But anyway, we end up scoring. It's about 1:55 left in the half. It's 24-14. Syracuse is going to get the ball to start the second quarter. This could be a game. And then Tennessee, with about 1:30 on the clock, 2nd and 10, Tank has the running back for what's going to be a 5-yard loss to set up a 3rd and 15. Tennessee probably just sits on the ball here and takes it to half if it's 3rd and 15. You know what I'm saying? And Tank just misses the tackle. Bishop goes for 40 yards down the field, and Tennessee ends up scoring a touchdown here to make it 31-14 going into the half. And those 3 plays, if those 3 plays go differently, I think it's a very, very close game, and Syracuse is in this game. So obviously we lost, but I think that we left a lot of meat on the bone here.
I agree. We left a lot out there on the field. I mean, that final play honestly felt like the backbreaker in the game. I thought we really fought to kind of stabilize our ship there, and we were back in the game, 10-point game. We were getting the ball back at half. If we could just hold there, we've got a chance to make it a 1-possession game coming out of half. And just immediately, I mean, that missed tackle by Tank was brutal. I mean, it was almost a celebration. It was like, oh hell yeah, 3rd and 15, we might get the ball back here.
That's how wrapped up he had him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then obviously he gets free. There's nobody there rallying to the ball. It's 40-yard run, couple quick running plays there in the end zone. And then we quickly come out of half and throw a pick, and we're down 38-14. The game got away pretty quickly there.
And then they didn't quit. They got it back to 26-38 again in the second half because Fran Brown teams aren't going to quit. So we love to see that. But that just goes to show you how close it was against a really, really good Tennessee team. And, if we continue to play this way and we clean up a few things, we're going to be a tough team for a lot of teams to beat. We watched Clemson last night not look so great against LSU. Clemson's not going to have the running attack that Tennessee does.
No.
That was obvious last night. And Klubnik wasn't really running, and they needed to get him running a little bit more. But, Clemson's not going to have the running attack that Tennessee does. Notre Dame is going to run the ball right through us, and that's going to be a really tough one for us. Outside of those 2 games, no other team is going to have the kind of offense and the execution. No team in the country, I think, is going to have the execution that a Heupel team is going to have. and they were ready for us. They were ready for everything we were going to do. They had some stuff on defense even that they were, confusing us with. So first game, I'm not going to be too negative.
No, I agree. I think, frankly, that's a tough matchup for your first game. Like, going against a guy like Heupel, who's just run such a well-oiled machine on offense. I mean, we talked about it as well. He put Aguilar in a lot of really great situations for him to succeed.
But that's what he does with all his quarterbacks, right? It's what he always has done.
Aguilar did not have to do that much in that game for them to be. I mean, you take away the 70-yard touchdown pass. I mean, he was
16 for 27 for like 170.
But even that touchdown pass, we talked about it. That was a predetermined throw. Heupel knew what that was. He said, "We're going to set up a run, and we're going to do play action, and you're just going to throw it deep, and you're just going to hope our guy's there." And he was open because Demetrius Samuel ran a little bit the wrong way. Fran talked about we got to get a little bit better with our leverage there. Again, he's a freshman. I actually thought he bounced back really well in this game. I thought outside of a couple of plays where he lost himself, he was actually great. But that goes to show this Tennessee team, they're going to be really good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move to the next segment. Big hockey guy. That. Letting everybody else know it. Huge hockey guy. So we're going to adopt something from hockey. At the end of the game, they do a little 3 stars of the game. But we're going to do our 3 stars of the game from just Syracuse. So we want to talk about 3 players that we thought were, absolutely electric that we want to spotlight and give kudos to. So let's start with number 3, Justice Ross Simmons. I thought he was great.
I agree. I think JRS was honestly really, really strong for us this game, in more ways than one. I mean, he looks just like a huge physical receiver down the field for Cuse. Tennessee was draped all over him anytime we threw him the ball downfield. Probably could have drawn 3 or 4 more interference penalties. At one point, Riddick was literally like, they got to give us one of these down the field here. He was just really good. I think it's going to get easier for him against lighter ACC competition.
Totally.
Don't have athletes on the outside.
Because he just looked big against Tennessee.
Looks like a huge kid out there on the outside. He is encouraging, and I think what's another takeaway there is Angeli seems to trust him. He's throwing the ball into coverage. He's like, look, I trust that he's going to make a play on the ball. He's strong enough to get in position and just put pressure on the defense. And that sort of chemistry hopefully should be encouraging for us, because we are going to struggle a little bit to get vertical at least 30, 40 yards down the field. But if we can leverage his size to create mismatches, that's something that I think is a real takeaway for our offense moving forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I thought he was great. He had a great tunnel screen where he just bursted through. That looks like something that we should continue to run, because he's going to be a guy that other secondaries that aren't big and physical like Tennessee, they're going to have trouble bringing him down, I think. So
100%.
I thought he was great. Let's get to the second star of the game. And I think we're both super happy that this guy had the impact that he did. And we hope we continue to see the impact from him. Jonte Cook. I mean, he was everything he was built to be. He was explosive. He got open. He ran crisp routes. He looks like a pro to me. To be honest with you, he's a little small, which is potentially the only downside for him. But I think he's got the potential to play at the next level because of the way he runs routes, because of the way he's able to get in space and make guys miss. So I thought he was excellent.
I agree. Honestly, I was impressed by the depth of the route tree from Jonte yesterday. I mean, he ran kind of everything, was operating over the middle of the field. Like, this guy's going to be a weapon in the slot for us. Like, really encouraged by what we saw. And I thought he was competitive yesterday. Like, that was a guy who was not afraid of that level of competition for sure.
Wasn't afraid to go over the middle and take a hit to make a catch. None of that.
Made a nice catch in traffic there on the ball for the touchdown there on the outside. Like, and got in the end zone. Really encouraged by Jonte. And again, I think just like overall playmakers on offense, we just have guys there, and we're going to be able to move the ball and score this year. So yeah, I agree. Really encouraged by what we saw from Jonte, and obviously he's a guy that I think the fan base just was really focused on in his debut yesterday, just because of the pedigree he came in with.
Number 1 star, I think it's easy. This is a no-brainer. Best player on the team, Yasin Willis. I mean, Fran said it in his thing. He said he's the best player on the team. So, I don't think there's much else to say other than he had a hat trick yesterday. Keeping up with the hockey terms here. Hat trick yesterday, 3 touchdowns, 90-something yards. He was excellent.
I mean, the 6 train arrived that's for sure, man. I mean, this kid is, like you said, that it took 10 minutes watching the game to go, that's our best. You could literally make the case he was maybe the best athlete on the field.
Yeah.
Both teams. Like, he was a physical force out there.
I mean, what was nice to see? Usually we're used to seeing the Syracuse defense have to get 5 guys on one guy to tackle him, and it was nice to see that have to turn around where, like, Tennessee had to hit him 3 or 4 times or have, like, 5 guys on his back to drag him down, and even still, he got 2-3 yards.
Totally, and I thought even things that were a little encouraging, too. Like, there's a couple times he got to the outside. He's got good
burst.
He can move when he gets going north and south. He avoided a couple tackles on, like, DBs trying to dive at his legs. He's got kind of a nice sort of slip leg move out there. He's nimble on his feet. I mean, he literally does look like kind of like a modern LeGarrette Blount out there. I mean, he is.
And the other thing is he's going to be even more useful in games where we're ahead and where we need to run down the clock or beat up a team in the second half. When we've maybe used a lot of Nixon, maybe we'll mix in more Malachi as we go here. And, Willis will be maybe, that second half hammer when we need to put a team away where you can feed him the ball 20 times in the second half if we're up. And, the game flow, because we got down 17 so quickly, we got away from him a little too much. So we'll see how that goes for the rest of the season. But goddamn, I mean, he's awesome.
I mean, he's just a dude. He's a dude back there, and he's a guy clearly that we need to build around on the offensive side of the ball. Like, this is a force, and he's somebody that we need to make the defense feel every time we play.
Because teams aren't going to want to tackle him.
No, not at all.
All right, let's finish up here with the Fran Brown roundup. We'll just talk a little bit about what we thought of his press conference and what we're going to do go forward here. So, the first thing is we've talked a lot about 2 main things, I think. One on offense, one on defense. The first one is let's get Willis the ball on offense, please. And I know game flow kind of dictated maybe we got away from it, but we need to just get Willis the ball. There was a lot of times in this game where we got ourselves trapped on certain drives where we would have a first down, we would throw a pass or do this, and then we would throw another pass on second down. All of a sudden it's 3rd and 10, and there's a lot. We need to sometimes just start the drive, give Willis the ball, get ourselves into 2nd and 6, and then you can go from there. I think a lot more of that. It's going to be traditional, and teams might know it's coming, but I'm okay with that with Willis back there.
I agree. I think, honestly, one of the big reasons we got down 17-0 is we didn't really establish Willis until kind of that point. I completely agree. We've got to find a way to make sure he is prioritized and established early in the game, because it's going to open up everything else too. Like, we'll be able to get layered in the passing game once we kind of establish him and bring those linebackers and safeties up a little bit.
I mean, we've talked about what the weapons we have. If you give us one-on-one on the outside, I love our chances with our receivers. Justice Ross Simmons, Tyshawn Russell was a guy who was great. You had Gill didn't really get a lot of run, but, if you get one-on-one with him on the outside, we know he can go deep and make a play. So you got a lot of opportunities if you can, have teams really committed to having to stop Willis. And then the other thing, Fran, focusing on defense, which you've said, from the beginning of this podcast till now, we have to tackle.
We have to tackle. We have to rally to the ball. It's just something we have to see improvement on. It's this carryover from last year. We have got to tackle, and it's demoralizing though for the team. Like, you can see guys start
backbreaking
confidence, and it starts to snowball. Like, we miss a few, and then all of a sudden it starts to be big gaping holes all over the defense, and it's just like we've got to be better at the point of attack. Wrapping up, being fundamental. It's something that we're going to struggle on that side of the ball until we figure that out.
And rallying to the ball is the biggest thing, right? Because you're going to miss some tackles, but you got to get hands on a guy, and then there has to be that 2nd and 3rd layer of guys coming in right away. It can't be you can't let that guy get reset or get another couple yards. You have to get to him right away, because a lot of times, Tav, we're seeing where it's like we could have had a stop at the line, and instead they get 5 or 6 yards. And now it's, instead of 2nd and 10, it's 2nd and 3. 2nd and 4.
Yeah.
Can't have it because then you're just giving teams easier chances to convert. So I like that Fran, kept it simple. I think today in sports, a lot of people make things more complicated than they need to be. Sports are pretty fucking simple. You have to take the ball and score more than the other team. You know what I'm saying? And, in basketball, you have to make shots. In hockey, you have to score the puck. In football, you have to score the ball and you have to tackle on defense. It's very simple. And so I like that Fran keeps it simple in his post-game press conferences. The other thing, he was asked quite a bit about Demetrius Samuel. I think he gave the kid a lot of confidence. He said he did a great job bouncing back. He made a couple of mistakes, but he's a freshman. We're thankful to have him, and we're really excited about where he goes. We think he has a big future. And, he said after the game, Demetrius Samuel was not down, and he shouldn't be, because I actually thought for most of the game he played well. He had a couple of times where he got burnt or he made a mistake, and that's just him being a freshman. He's only going to get better. So I love to see Fran keeping guys positive.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm not sure what, candidly we were expecting from a 17-year-old playing against an SEC team like this. Like, he was going to get picked on. I think we found ways to utilize him. I thought, look, he had the pass interference. He got beat deep. It is what it is. I thought he made also a couple impressive plays even on that first drive to bounce back after the pass interference.
Had a couple tackles.
Exactly. Like, look, we need to be patient with him. Like, he is going to get there. I think the kid's got a lot of talent, and I'm glad that Fran is immediately making sure he coaches him up, shows him a little extra love. Like, let's be real, he's a kid. Like,
yeah. And you asked what do we expect of this kid, and I think this is a simple answer. What we expect of him: compete. Yeah. We want him to compete. We want him to give 100% effort. We want him to go out there and do his best. And he competed his ass off yesterday. Made a couple mistakes, but he was right there. First drive, after the pass interference penalty, he breaks up a pass. Then later in the drive, when on 3rd down, they're looking for a guy over the top, and Samuel is glued to him. Brazel has no space. So, I thought he really rebounded well in that game. We love to see that. And then finally, they asked Fran, what did you talk about in the locker room? What are you thinking about go forward? And again, I like that Fran keeps it simple. He sticks to his values. He says, hey, we have to have faith in each other. We want to be tight as a team. We want to be tight-knit. We can't let this distract us for the rest of the season. There's a lot of season left. And then he said, as he always does, we have to take it day by day. So on Monday, we go back to class. We go into class, we work hard in the classroom, we work hard on the practice field, and we take it into Tuesday. And I think that's a big thing for Fran, and I think it's a great attitude for college kids to just be like, hey, one day at a time. This game's gone. Now we're moving on to the next one. They're a really good team, but now we have to go focus on ourselves and find ways to be better. And as Fran always says, how you do anything is how you do everything. So on Monday, we're back in the classroom. We're doing what we need to do. We're back out on the practice field, and let's see a better effort against UConn.
I agree. I agree. I think I like where Fran's kind of left this. And I do think, like, UConn is actually an interesting second game for us because UConn is not a bad team. This is not the UConn of the last 3 or 4 years where obviously they really kind of bottomed out as a program. More has stabilized that crew quite a bit. They're a good, solid football team. This is going to be a good test for us. It resets our level of competition. I expect us to be ready and come out firing. And
I totally agree. UConn's definitely better. But the other thing is, UConn, for as good as they are now, because it's better than what they were, they're obviously not Tennessee. Playing basically an away game against Tennessee, maybe one of the best defenses in the country, and a big offensive line, a stable of running backs over there. I thought Bishop, by the way, was excellent for Tennessee. He's an excellent player. I love him.
Thomas was impressitive.
Yeah, they were sick, and Lewis was good too.
They've got 3 awesome running backs.
Yeah, I thought Tennessee was awesome, by the way. I mean, I don't know, we didn't touch on them as much, but I thought Tennessee was an awesome team, and I think now you're going to be stepping down in competition. So what I want to see from us is, hey, now it's going to look a little bit easier. We're going to be a little bit more comfortable. Can we execute at a high level? Because I think if we execute, clean up a few things, but we execute the way we did today and we make a few more tackles, I think we're going to be much, much better than UConn. And having played such a tough opponent to start the year could actually be a benefit for us if we can take away the lessons that we need to and we can kind of keep our level of compete very high.
I agree. I agree on that. I think hopefully that should carry over for us. And one thing I think just to leave it with here is what's interesting about kind of this, the early Fran Brown era, and I think honestly where Cuse has been successful as a program is I think we are going to kind of continue to skew as more of an offensive program. I think that is something that, I'm hopeful we get more competitive on defense, but look, we play in a dome in Syracuse. We are a team that should have a lot of weapons on the offensive side of the ball. We should be able to be fast and play an exciting brand of football.
We have to be if we want to be successul, like you said, in the dome, on the turf.
Like this is where our program advantage is going to be, and so I'm encouraged by that. I want to see this team in the dome. I want to see the offense really kind of step on the gas here to start this game. And I'm encouraged by what we saw against what, like you said, is maybe the best defense we've seen all year. This will get easier against UConn. I expect us to start much better on offense and really kind of step on the gas really to start that game.
The other thing is Fran seems to me like a guy who he's going to change his team based on his talent, right? And so, yeah, right now we're offensive. Maybe sometime in the future we'll be a little bit more defensive, but at least what I want to see is he talked about it. He said, get Willis the ball more. I want to see that adjustment made versus UConn. I want to see Willis just running UConn over because that's going to be the kind of game where he's just going to be a better athlete than anybody else on the field. And there's an opportunity for him to really, put himself in that class of like, hey, he's a top running back in the country because I fully believe that. I said it right away in the beginning of the preseason. I said, this is a kid who could lead the ACC in rushing. I said that right away, and I still believe it. I still believe this is a kid who could lead the ACC in rushing, and I think if we give him that opportunity against UConn, he will. So, I love Nixon. I love a lot of what he did last year. I thought some of the stuff yesterday could have been done a little better, but I just want to see us make that adjustment to get Willis the ball more. UConn, Colgate, let's beat up on them, and then we're going into Clemson, and let's see what happens. Because Clemson's going to be a favorite, but I don't think they're nearly as good as Tennessee. So we should be better by Clemson, and we should be able to at least put in a similar effort here. And if we're a 14-point underdog against Clemson, what I hope to see is we can cover that game and make it close.
Totally. No, I think there's a lot to take away from this game, and I think it sets us up well for what we clearly need to do better here in the next couple of weeks against some teams that we should hopefully be able to really handle here. So I think it's exciting. Obviously, disappointing loss, but I think there's lots to take away, and I don't think, like we talked about, this should be all that surprising for the fan base in terms of the end result. I think we showed okay. I don't think it was a disaster by any means, but I think we certainly have things to improve upon, and I still think this can be a really solid season for the Orange here.